Could the Golden State Warriors sign a big-name veteran? We're going to talk about that at some point on today's show, so make sure you continue to hang out with us here on Golden State Warriors Today. First, though, we want your feedback down in the comment section. There are so many content options out there. We understand that. That's why we're so grateful that all of you come here to support one of the largest, most successful Warriors channel on YouTube. But how can we get better, and how likely are you to recommend this show to somebody else? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1, not at all. 10, very much so. We appreciate your feedback down below in the comment section. Let's begin with this. Could the Golden State Warriors trade for Bojan Bogdanovic? Internet Trade Idea has the dubs making a deal for him. Does it make sense? Let's break it down here because we like talking ball, and if you like talking ball, that means that you're a real one. Here's that trade idea. Warriors receive Bojan Bogdanovic as well as Alec Burks. The Detroit Pistons get Chris Paul, 2028 first-round pick. Now, I'm throwing this up here partially because I looked at this trade and I was thinking, I've seen what a lot of you have said down in the comment section. You did not like this move for Chris Paul. So, when it comes around where he's eligible to get traded, would you like to trade him as part of that package for Bojan Bogdanovic? Because you already know you have Corey Joseph, you have Steph Curry, you have ball handlers, and trading for Chris Paul wasn't necessarily a need. I feel as though the Warriors just got back the best value for Jordan Poole, and that's why partially they made that deal. Now, for Bojan Bogdanovic, where would he fit in to this rotation? He wouldn't start over Andrew Wiggins. No way. He's not going to start over Klay Thompson. As a bench piece, though, can you imagine him as a flamethrower? Averaging about, 17, 20, 21 points per game. Shoot, that's what he's done over the last 4 years. So he would immediately bolster your bench unit. He would not do a lot in improving your defensive style of play. And at backup point guard, you can find ways to make up for Chris Paul. And you get Bojan Bogdanovic. Alec Burks is also capable of handling the rock as well. Pretty good offensive player who can come in off the bench. He's definitely put up some stats on some bad teams, but has been effective as far as a guy who can give you really solid offensive play, more than 40% from three each of the last 3 years. And then in 2019-2020, 15 points per game, almost 39% from downtown. I'll tell you what, if the Warriors make any move, we're going to cover it here on the show. This is Golden State Warriors Today. You see the link down below, even easier for you. Just hit that subscribe button. As for Chris Paul, you look at what he's done over the last 4 years. Now, I would not make this trade because I am fascinated to see what happens with CP3. Also, you're going to have an opportunity to see what happens with Chris Paul because he can't be traded, I believe, until about January. Floor general, smart, savvy, heady player, always has a lot of swagger and confidence, a seasoned veteran who's definitely a winning player. Yes, he has not won an NBA championship, but he is still a winning player. Both things can be true. Warriors don't necessarily need Chris Paul, though. That's why we're talking about this trade here, and that's why when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I wonder what Warriors fans are going to say because a lot of you did not agree with the move to bring in CP3. So, would you trade Chris Paul for Bojan Bogdanovic? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Want you to let me know down in the comment section. This will be our pinned comment. So, if you get hit with that ad break, just scroll on down, get those votes in. Could the Golden State Warriors sign that big-name veteran? The Warriors are linked to a vet who a lot of you know. Who is it? Let's talk about Rudy Gay here. According to reports, the Warriors will have an interest in Rudy Gay. He's been in the league for a really long time. We've talked about him here on the show. We're going to talk more about him here in just a second. But first, you see how we're 334 people away from 60,000 subscribers. That is a pretty incredible milestone here on Warriors Today. When I took over March of 2021 of this channel, we were at 13,000 subscribers. To see the growth, the success that's taken place, it would not be possible without Dub Nation. So let's continue to grow and hit that sub button right now. If you're in the market for year-round Warriors coverage, we have you covered here on the program. So let's talk about Rudy Gay. At this point of his career, he's not the offensive player that he was, but can he be a bench piece to give you some type of scoring production where you could use it with that second unit? Anthony Slater did say this in July. Anthony Slater of The Athletic, best beat reporter in my opinion covering the Dubs. Have you seen the Thunder's roster after a recent trade with Atlanta to grab Usman Garuba, Ty Washington, and Rudy Gay? Oklahoma City overcommitted on guaranteed roster spots. Somebody has to shake loose before the start of the season. Gay has $6.5 million left on an expiring deal. Doesn't fit that Thunder timeline. Seems like a cut candidate and is someone the Warriors have had interest in the past. He is a name to monitor. Now, OKC did end up parting ways with Rudy Gay, so he is available now in NBA free agency, and that's why Golden State could have some interest. Michael Scotto with this. Veteran forward Rudy Gay expected to draw interest from several playoff caliber teams. That includes the Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks, Chicago Bulls, New Orleans Pelicans. And I do think that when you look at the list of teams interested, playoff team, most likely playoff team, borderline playoff team, borderline playoff team. What's the theme here? There's a reason why these teams are interested in a player like Rudy Gay, because he's seasoned, and you want a veteran like that in the locker room who's been around the block for a long time, and he can help you in multiple areas. Now, you look at his numbers from this past year, 5 points per game in 56 games, under 38% from the field, 25% from three, but we're not talking about Rudy Gay as a player who's going to be expected to play 15, 20 minutes per game. We're talking about 10 to 15 efficient minutes where if you need a couple of buckets, Rudy Gay will be able to give you those buckets. And there's a reason why people are a fan of his game, because he's got that old school type of game where even though he's lost some of that athleticism, because that's what comes with Father Time, he's crafty and smart enough to get some shots off and create some offensive opportunities for himself. At that same point, you're not really addressing size here for Golden State. And I really do think that they could address size here. And you think about some of the bigs who are out there. We've talked about them plenty because I'm concerned about this Warriors' lack of size. So this doesn't address that. It doesn't help that area at all, but it is certainly interesting. You take a gander at some of the top free agent centers, Christian Wood, Blake Griffin, kind of a 4 but small ball lineup. You might be able to play him at that 5 spot. Bismack Biyombo. Stephen A. Smith was on Paul George's podcast, and he said even now he thinks that DeMarcus Cousins could be a top 5 big in this league. I'm calling cap on that. A lot of teams haven't signed him because they don't like his attitude. But that's another player who you could bring in for cheap as a reunion. Unfortunately for him, when he played for Golden State, his season shut down early after he suffered that quad injury. Would you sign Rudy Gay? S for sign. P for pass. We want to hear from you down in the comment section. Another reminder, how likely are you to recommend this show to somebody else on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, not at all. 10, very much so. And explain why or why not so that we can continue to get better, because competition brings the best out of everybody and we're never content.